Okay, well, let's get started with today's lesson. If you guys remember, we talked about chapter 11 last week, and you had a lab assignment that was due on Friday. So if you
Yes.
did not do your chapter 11 lab assignment, then that is officially late. So I have to count off 10 points. So the lab assignment was due last week. And that was the only homework really. I mean, besides the book. So so we're going to check our homework and look at count nouns and non-count nouns, and then especially look at those that can be both count or non-count. So I like these two examples that Amani and Walter did. In this case, we use time as a count noun. Okay, so let's go to the homework. You guys started with exercise 11, page 296.
296. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exercise 11, page 296. So let's see. Amani, do you have the answer to numbers 1 through 5?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Number one is nothing. Uh, number two is nothing. Number three, suggestions. Number
Okay,
four
good.
is
Yeah,
nothing. Number five is nothing.
that is correct. So nothing, nothing, S, nothing, nothing. Those are the answers for 1 through 5. And I'm looking at the top right side of your answer key too. So, Walter, what did you get for 6 through 10?
Okay. 6, I need an S.
Yeah.
7, nothing. Nothing. 9 and 10, nothing.
Yeah, that's correct. So 6 through 10, the only one that needs a S is number 6. Okay, good job on listening, guys. Let's go to exercise 16.
16.
Exercise 16. Number 3, 4, and 5 are all correct.
3, 4. Yes.
Yes.
4, 5 are correct. Good. Okay, Amani, what's wrong with number 6? Tell us what
Uh,
we.
yeah. Number six. Number six. Instead of much, I put many. So she
Yes,
can't remember too many new words.
yes, that's correct. So change much to many in number 6. And Walter, what about number 7?
Number 7. I had to change the page. Oh, I didn't do it. I only did. Yes, here. It's correct.
Actually, number 7 has a mistake
And
because
vocabulary, right?
vocabulary is non-count. We're not supposed to use few with non-count.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, I need to put some.
Yes, you can say some vocabulary, you could say a little vocabulary, or
Okay.
we can change vocabulary and just say a few words.
Okay.
Okay, that's good. So I will continue here. Number 8 is correct. Number 9, several new words with an S. Number 10, we need to change the verb here because it has to match singular with non-count or plural with count. So you can say are a lot of new words, or is a lot of new vocabulary. So in this case, this is subject-verb agreement. We've got are as a verb, but vocabulary is singular. It doesn't go with are. So we have to correct the verb and the noun to make them match. And number 11, we should use are a lot of new words with the S, or is a lot of new vocabulary. So basically 10 and 11 are kind of the same thing. It's just two different ways to correct it. So if you need help with that, look over here on your screen. Your screen, it says 10 and 12, but it should be 10 and 11. Okay, guys, any questions?
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Can you on number 8? Can you add some? I mean, can you add some in the place of a?
Like he assigned some, few.
Yeah.
No, we don't use some with few.
Oh. All right.
Notice that few goes with a. So a is singular. We can't change a to some because it would kind of change the whole meaning. So we use a with few, even though few means more than one. So I know that's kind of confusing. Why do they have
Right.
a with few? But that's just the term, and we keep those two words together, a few. Okay, good question. Let's go on to exercise 22. This one is kind of a long one. And let's see what you guys did. Walter, what did you put for number 3 and number 4? Can you do 3 and 4?
Yes. 3 and 4. Exercise 22, right?
Yes.
Peppers.
Good. Papers with a S. And then
Yes,
number
with
4?
S. Without S. Paper.
That's correct. Good. So number 3 was the count noun, and number 4 was a non-count noun. So 3 is papers, and 4 is paper. And number 5, we're going to use a with paper.
Yes.
So we
Yes.
circle a, and then we say famous paper. Okay, good job. Amani, can you do number 6 and 7?
Oh yeah. Number 6 is work. Number 7 is walk.
Okay, which one is a count noun?
I think 7 is kind like count noun, but I didn't add an S in it. I just
Okay. Actually, 7 is non-count.
it's not count.
Yeah. Let's see. Work as in. We're kind of when we use it as work as in like a job, like you have a job to do. Like my yard needs work. My grass is long. My trees are touching my roof. My yard needs work. We're talking about like a job, something you do. That is going to be non-count. That's number 7. So you cannot ever put an S on that one. Okay, number 6, we're not talking about a job. or something to do, we're actually talking about a thing. So Van Gogh's painting, we're talking about the actual painting, is one of my favorite works of art. And we need to put an S on works because whenever we have one of, remember we talked about this a couple of chapters ago, when we have one of, we need a plural noun. Like one of my friends, one of my classes, and this is going to be one of my favorite works. A work of art is a sculpture or a painting or a drawing. Those are all works of art. Okay, Amani, do you see the difference with work?
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
See.
good. So number 6 is works with the S. Number 7 is just work. Number 8, we need to use hair and then hair again, no S. Number 9, we use hairs with the S. Okay. And number 10, glasses. And number 11, glasses.
Yes.
Wait. Oh, yeah. Number 12 is a non-count, just glass. Any questions so far on 9 through 12?
I have one question,
Okay.
but this um, I didn't understand about when you talk about superlative and you have a noun count noun. For example, in this case, I have to add an S in work, but if I have another noun count, does the rule apply of all noun count?
Okay, so you're saying if we have one of, and then we
Yes.
want to use a non-count noun?
For example, I don't know, maybe mm, one of the best, one of the most interesting information that you have to know about ancient Greece. I don't.
Yeah,
I
we
don't.
can't,
But I
we could not,
don't.
yeah, we cannot use information with one of.
Okay.
So we cannot say one of the best information or one of my favorite furniture. We cannot do it.
Okay. So it
So,
doesn't have
yeah,
any sense.
nope, yeah, it doesn't, well, it kind of makes sense. I mean, I kind of understand what you mean, but it's just not grammatically correct.
Okay.
So what can we do in that situation? What you could do is use something like pieces of information. So one of the most interesting pieces of information that I found on the internet was whatever. Okay, so we have to, that's how we get around the little rule. Whenever we have a non-count noun, but we want to count it, we have to use a count noun that goes with it, like piece of information or slice of bread or a piece of advice.
Okay.
And it kind of sounds funny to use piece with information, but that's how we do it. Yeah, so one of my favorite pieces of furniture is my couch. That's how we would say it with a non-count noun. Okay, so that's a great question. Does that make sense, Walter?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, good. And I'm trying to show you in your book, they do have a page in here somewhere. At least I thought they did, where they give you some help with this. Kind of, yeah. Page 302.
Page 3.
Using units of measure with non-count nouns.
Oh, I
So we have
see.
a piece of bread, a piece of toast, or a piece of information. They have some examples in here of ways that we can count these non-count nouns. But we didn't have time to cover that. So the good news is I have the answer key here on this page, and it will be saved in this video. If you want to do that extra work and go back and do those, you can check your answers. But yeah, it's a very good question. I like that question. Okay, let's continue with these. Number 13. Are we on 13 or 12? 12 is glass. 13, iron is.
Yes.
14, irons with the S are. And 15, experiences with the S. 16, experience. 17, some chicken. 18, chickens with the S. 19, are, and then lights with the S. And then number 20, light isn't, and then we use it in the answer. Okay, so that is exercise 22 that we did. Any questions here?
No.
Okay, Amani, are you good?
Yes, I'm good.
I don't know where 2 is today. It's so quiet without 2 in
Yeah,
the video.
it's not the same.
Missing a piece of the puzzle here. Okay, well, guys, we are ready to start adjective clauses. So that's what we're going to do next. Does anybody know what an adjective clause is? Anybody heard of that?
Yeah, I heard that before.
Okay, Amani, tell me what you know so far about them.
Mm, I think it's. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you're not saying anything.
Oh, I was trying to say, I don't know the definition, but it's something that connect two things different. Uh,
Connecting, so it kind of connects things.
yeah,
Okay, I don't know if that is a good definition of adjective clause. Maybe we need to think about something a little more specific. What about this? If I say a sentence, coffee is a drink that many people enjoy in the morning. See my little cup of coffee here? It looks like espresso. It looks very dark. Coffee is a drink that many people enjoy in the morning. Now, I'm giving you a description of coffee in my sentence. How did I
So
describe coffee?
it's enjoyable.
Yeah, I said it's a drink that many people enjoy in the morning. So that many people enjoy in the morning is actually called an adjective clause.
So
Whenever you see the word clause, I need you to think of subject and verb. Okay, and I'll show you why in my next slide. Yeah, were you going to say something, Walter?
no, yeah, yes. Describe the noun or
Yes.
modify the noun.
Yes. Yeah, that's what adjectives do. So what we're going to do is I'll show you how we're going to take an adjective and a clause and we put it together to make an adjective clause that has the characteristics of adjectives and clauses both. So that's why I started out here. I've got 3 points here. First, let's look at what is an adjective. It's a word that describes a person, place, or thing. So here's some examples. Big, bright, careful, energetic. Those are adjectives. And we usually see these, we are familiar with these. We usually put them right before a noun, right? Like the beautiful tree. Beautiful describes the thing, the tree. Okay? So that's an adjective. Now, what is a clause? A clause is a group of words that has a subject and conjugated verb. Conjugated verbs always have tense, like past tense, present progressive. Those are all the tenses, okay? It's got to have a subject and a verb. So look at this example. This is a clause. It has bright white flowers. So it is a subject, has is the verb, and then I continue the clause with some other words. I've got adjectives like bright and white, and I have a noun, flowers. All of that together is called a clause. Okay, is everybody with me so far?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got, now we're going to look at aspects of an adjective and characteristics of the clause, and we're going to put them together to create an adjective clause. So adjective clauses combine the elements of both. So look at the red letters here, that has bright white flowers. This is a clause because I have a subject, that, and I have a verb, has. It's also an adjective because why? What is it describing?
Flowers.
Are we describing the flowers, or are the flowers on the tree and we're describing the tree?
The tree.
Yes.
And Walter, you brought up a good point. Yeah, Amani, you're correct. Here, there's 2 things we need to look at. Bright and white are adjective words that are describing flowers. So, Walter, you're correct about that. But the whole clause that starts with that, all of these words are all describing the tree. Because the tree has the flowers. The tree contains those flowers, and we want to describe what kind of tree it is. Okay? We didn't say tall tree. We didn't say old tree. We said the tree that has bright white flowers. So we're still describing the tree, but we're using a clause to describe it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, good. And I know you have these in Spanish. It's just, of course, a different translation. A lot of languages have these clauses. Okay, we use them a lot. So here's what I want us to look at first. This clause, first of all, has a subject and verb inside of it, and it has some other words like bright, white, and flowers. Okay, but all of that together is one adjective clause. Okay, and another thing we need to notice is that if I take this out of the sentence, if I take all these red letters out, I still should have a complete sentence. So let's look at the white letters. The tree stretched over my roof last fall. Is that a complete sentence?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Because tree would be a subject, stretched is like to go over, to go wide. Okay, we have a subject, we have a verb. So you need to remember that adjective clauses are not essential. They're not the most important part of a sentence. They're just adding description to something in a sentence. Just like our words, our adjective words also add some description to a noun that's in a sentence, okay? Okay, so let's look a little more closely at clauses here. I am going to use these words a lot this week and next week. SRP and ORP. Okay? SRP and ORP. What do those mean? Well, there's two kinds of adjective clauses. And the first kind, those are the easy ones. So we're going to start with those. They are adjective clauses that have a subject relative pronoun. That's called an SRP. Okay, and I'll explain what that means in a moment. But so that's one type of clause. It begins with an SRP. Now the second kind is an adjective clause that starts with an object relative pronoun, or we could say ORP. Okay, so basically we're looking at the subject and we're looking at the object. These two kinds of words will create totally different types of adjective clauses. And so we're going to begin with the SRP ones. Let me show you on page 321 before we start. So we should have our books open. Page 321. Look at the bottom of the page. And it says grammar terminology. So in here, we're going to talk about independent clauses and dependent clauses. Did I talk to you guys about that before?
I don't remember.
I don't think I did.
No, not yet.
Basically, if it's a dependent clause, that's your adjective clause. It means it cannot be by itself. It's just a description. That's it. An independent clause, if you look at number 2 at the bottom, he lives in Chicago, that is independent. It is not an adjective clause. So what we're going to do in this class is we're going to combine the independent with the dependent clauses. And that will create a sentence with the adjective clause. So look at page 321. I want you to look at letter E. Letter E example. It says, I met a man who lives in Chicago. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Who lives in Chicago. So the adjective clause is who lives in Chicago. The subject is who, the verb lives. And we are describing something. What are we describing?
Where he lives.
A man.
Are we describing lives, Walter? Remember, adjectives have to describe a person, a place, or a thing. We are describing a man.
Yeah.
So you can draw an arrow if you want from the adjective clause over to man. So let me help you with this, Walter, because sometimes it's hard to see what does that mean? What are you describing? Adjectives give descriptions. Remember we talked about tall or energetic, big. Those are all adjectives, right? Oh, well, I'm going to ask a question. I met a man. What kind of man? A tall man, big man, old man? Well, I want to give a description about that man. The man lives in Chicago. That's how I'm describing him. It's not the man that lives in New York. It's not the man that lives next door. So anytime we give a description, it's going to give us specific information about one noun in the sentence. Okay, Walter, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, good. So we'll look at more examples here. Let's go back to the screen here. Subject
Uh,
relative pronoun. Subject
excuse.
relative pronoun. That just means that it's the adjective clause starts with the subject.
My screen doesn't show anything. I think my connection is bad.
Okay, so
Yeah,
why don't you try, but I can still hear you. That's weird.
yeah, you can hear me.
Okay, why don't I do something? I'm going to get out of this. You just stay right there. I'm going to get out of this and then I'll go back and see if that helps. Okay, can you see it now? Can you see it?
Yeah, it's kind of showing some words. SRP
Yeah,
conjugated
that's
verb.
it.
Oh yeah,
Is it too small or
no, it's
can you
good.
read it? Okay.
It's
Okay, good. So
it's
you're
going again. I can zoom it.
oh,
It's going again. But just keep going. I'll be listening.
okay. Well,
Yeah.
the good thing is I'm recording this video, so I will post it. And if you need me to, you know what I can do, Amani? I can send you this PowerPoint if you need it also. Um,
Right.
oh, no, I didn't give you guys the access to this. Okay, so basically, a subject relative pronoun is just means that that first word of the adjective clause is going to be the subject. So look on page 321. Walter, what is the adjective clause in letter E? Letter E,
The
what is the adjective clause?
letter E is number 4 or
I'm on page 321 again. We're still on that page.
at the bottom of the page, right?
Letter E, it's in the green box.
Okay.
It says, a man who lives in Chicago. So what is the adjective clause?
Who lives in Chicago?
And we're going to start with who. It's all those green letters. Who lives in Chicago? Okay. That is the adjective clause. Now, Walter, what is the subject in the clause?
Who?
Exactly. That is called an SRP. You can even write that in your book if you want. Subject relative pronoun is who. Okay? It's a subject relative pronoun because it's a subject, and the word relative refers to adjective. Anytime you see relative, it's like adjective when we're talking about grammar. Okay? So it's a subject, it's in an adjective clause, and it's a pronoun because it's replacing the word man. The man lives in Chicago. That's really what it comes from. So we call it a SRP. So what are all of our SRPs? Does anybody know all of these that we can use? Who is one of them? Are there any more?
That?
Yes, good. Who or that? Anything else?
Which?
Yep.
Um, mm,
And there's another one, but it's the hardest one to know and use.
oh,
It's whose plus a noun, and this
Who.
one is going to be for possessive subjects. And at the end of our class, like the end of our chapter, we're going to look at whose. Okay. So who is not the same as whose. They're very different. Whose plus a noun. So we'll come back to that one. So class, what you need to know for now is that a subject relative pronoun means that it's one of these four words and it's going to be the subject in the clause, in the adjective clause, okay? And then after the SRP, we always have a conjugated verb. So go back to page 321. What is the conjugated verb in the green letters?
Verb. Lives.
Lives, correct. So you see we have our structure. We've got the SRP, who, and we have the verb lives. And then we've got some other words, a prepositional phrase, in Chicago. Okay? Any
Okay.
questions so far?
No.
Okay, here's another example. The waitress brought me a meal that tasted great. I underlined the whole adjective clause for you, and I have the SRP in red letters, it's that, and then I have a conjugated verb, tasted, okay, and then we have other words like great. So that tasted great is an adjective clause. So what we need to do is be familiar with the structure, and then we can check in our sentences if we're creating correct adjective clauses or not. We've got to check, okay?
Okay.
Page 322 in the green box, you can see some more examples. So letter A, the man is friendly. The man lives next to me. So I can put these together and I can make one of these into an adjective clause. And I can say, the man who lives next to me is friendly. So the green letters on page 322, green letters are the adjective clause. Okay, so does everybody know how to find or how to recognize the adjective clause? Questions about recognizing it?
No.
I think,
Okay, yeah, Amani?
yeah, according to you, I'll be I'll be look I'll be look I'll be looking at the subject relative pronoun, which
Okay,
is, yeah, who, that, which, and whose.
yes.
And that, so anything that comes after those words, I mean those
Mm-hmm.
subject relative pronoun, that means that would be adjective clauses.
I'm going to say yes and no to answer your question. Who, that, which, and whose are all words that can begin an adjective clause. But we have another type of clause called a noun clause. Like I'm trying to, and we also have adverb clauses that use the word that. So you're going to see that a lot. I don't know if you guys realize, but we use that in a lot of different sentences, right?
Yes.
We hear it all the time. And we're going to study noun clauses. Actually, let me see if that's next. No, gerunds is next. And then we have noun clauses. Amani, you can just go really quickly to page 379. Page 379. 379, if you look at the top, you're going to see clauses that start with that, but they're not adjective clauses.
37.
Yeah, page 379. Those green letters,
Oh,
those are noun clauses. Okay. So that's why I said yes and no, because yes, a lot of times these are adjective clauses, but we need to be careful because the word that can be used in a noun clause. Who? What about who? I don't think who is going to be in any other kind of clause, probably just adjective. I've never really thought about, distinguishing all of the pronouns, but yeah, so it's yes and no as an answer. So don't rely just on the word, okay? You've got to be able to recognize different parts of the sentence to know if it's adjective clause or not, okay?
okay.
Okay, so guys, let's do a little bit of practice. Exercise 5 on page 323. Page 323. We're going to do a couple of these together. Number 1, exercise 5, they already did for you. They underlined the adjective clause. It's who gave us our room keys. And they drew the arrow over to clerk
What page
because
is it?
page 323,
All right.
they drew the arrow to clerk because this whole adjective clause is describing the clerk. Okay, so let's go ahead and label it. Do you see an SRP?
Yes.
Subject, relative pronoun. Okay, what is it?
Who?
Who, exactly. So let's put SRP is who. And then right after that, we should have a conjugated verb. Do we have a verb?
Yes, gave.
Gave. So we can put V for verb there. So that's how we know, okay, we've got an adjective clause with a subject relative pronoun because the SRP is first, then we have the verb. All of these words are describing the clerk. So I can ask myself, what clerk? What kind of clerk was he? Was he tall? Was he old? Was he nice? Okay, let me describe the clerk. He's the one who gave us our room keys. So we're giving description about the clerk. So I want you guys to do 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'll give you a couple of minutes. I want you to label the SRP, the verb, underline the clause, and draw the arrow. And you probably notice number 2 and number 5, there's something that's tricky about those. So in just a minute, I'll see if you were able to get those correct. 2 and 5 are the difficult ones. Okay, is anybody finished with all of them, or do you need more time?
I need more time. I only did number 2.
Oh, I'm just, my brain is like,
Yes, I know. Not my
All right, I'll give you a couple more minutes. Okay, you've got 1 more minute. It's okay if you don't finish. If
Okay.
you can just do 2 and 3, that would be good.
I think I did all of them.
Okay. What about you, Amani? Are you finished?
Yes, I'm finished.
Okay, good. Let's go over these then. I was trying to pull up my screen, the book on the screen here, but I don't know if it's gonna work. Let me see. Yeah, okay, maybe it will. Let me zoom in. I think it's easier if we look while we're doing this. So let me pull this up. Okay. So now I'm going to take you guys over to the book so we can do this together. Walter, do you want to help us with number 2? And then Amani, you can do number 3.
Okay. Number 2, the adjective clause is that hired me. The subject relative pronouns is that, and the verb is hired.
Okay, good. I don't think I have a writing tool here, do I? No. Nope. Okay, so that is correct. We've got that hired me is the adjective clause. So we underline that. And we draw the arrow over to manager. And yes, we label SRP is that. And the verb is hired. Okay. Now, did anybody underline all of this? Has less experience than I do all of this? Anybody?
No.
Okay, good. That's a common mistake that students make. They think, oh, okay, so I'm going to start with that and I'm going to go all the way to the end of the sentence, but that's not always correct. Remember what I said, can we take out the adjective clause and we still have a sentence?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's the manager has less experience than I do. Okay, that's how we know we found the correct adjective clause, because we can take out the adjective clause and we still have a good sentence that's left. Okay, Amani, number 3.
Yeah, I underlined the adjective clauses is that works in the office next to me.
Next to mine.
And next to mine. Yeah.
Good. That works in the office next to mine. Good. Okay, what else did you do for number 3?
Oh, that is SRP and the
Yes.
works is a verb.
Good. And did you draw the arrow?
Yeah.
Over to what? To I or to manager?
To manager.
Good. We draw the arrow to manager. That's correct. Okay, let me finish the rest for you. We've got number 4, who wakes up? Who wakes up every morning with a positive attitude. The SRP is who, the verb wakes up, and we draw the arrow to person. Number 5, the adjective clause starts with who wakes up with a positive attitude every day. Stop. Okay. Who wakes up with a positive attitude every day. And then SRP is who, the verb is wakes up, we draw the arrow to person. We can take out this clause and we still have a sentence. A person is lucky.
Oh, I made a mistake that to me, the adjective clause was wakes up.
Oh, wait, a person who wakes up. Okay, what that means is, Walter, what you're saying is you're describing the person as a person who wakes up.
Oh, okay. It doesn't have any sense. Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, everybody wakes up though.
Yes.
Every single person. Mm-hmm.
And in number 4, just until morning.
Oh, you did the same thing. My mother is a person who wakes up every morning.
Yeah, it's a custom, so it's every day.
Yeah, what you're doing, I mean, it's kind of true what you're saying, like it could be an adjective clause, but the meaning would be different.
Okay.
So if I want to say, well, describe your mother to me. Well, she's a person who wakes up every morning. Yeah, I mean, that's what it means. You know, what kind of person is she? Well, she wakes up every morning. So it's kind of like missing something. We're missing like the real essence of the description.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good. I love it when students make mistakes because it makes me laugh. It's a lot of fun things to laugh about. Okay. Okay, so there's your answers. And let's see how much time we've got. Okay, we got about 30 minutes. Let's go to the next point. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about adjective clauses that have subject relative pronouns. Here's the important things you need to remember. What we're going to do is skip over a couple of pages and go to page 331. 331. Go to that page, 331. The reason is because I don't like how your book has organized the green boxes. We are going to come back later and look at those other boxes that we're skipping, okay? But what we need to do is continue talking about our SRPs, and we need to look at singular and plural. Subject-verb agreement. So on page 331 at the top, okay? Walter, can you read this sentence? It says, the verb in the adjective clause, what? On the right side at the top.
Okay, the verb in the Adjective clause is singular because who refers to a singular noun, man.
Good. Okay. So I know the man who is sitting over there. The verb is sitting is singular because we're describing man and man is singular. Okay. Amani, can you read where it says in be, the verb, what?
Oh, okay. The the verb in the adjective clause is plural because who refers to a plural noun.
People.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean
So
people.
let's look. Good. Let's look at this one. I know the people who are sitting over there. We use are sitting because we're talking about people. People is the word that we're describing. Okay. So if you look at the SRP, it is who and who. Both of them have the word who, right? So sometimes who is going to be plural and sometimes who is going to be singular. So how do you know if that subject is singular or plural? You have to look outside the adjective clause to that noun that it's describing. Okay, does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Yes, makes sense.
Okay. I put an example up here on the screen. It says those ladies, plural, right, who teach first grade have a lot of patience. So teach is conjugated for a plural subject because ladies is the word I'm describing, and ladies is plural. So that what that means is the word who is actually a plural subject in this sentence. Okay, that's a little bit confusing, right?
Right.
That is confusing, but we don't have another way to make who plural or singular. We just have one word. Now, some people might say, well, what about whose? Whose has a S, but that's a totally different word with a different function. So who, that, which, those three words, we don't have two forms. We don't have a singular form and a plural form. So the only way to know is if you look at what word it's talking about, if that word is singular or plural. So this is our, I believe, let me check. Let me double check that this is our last slide. Yeah. So this is our last slide here. So what we're going to do in a minute is practice. You guys are going to make your own sentences. But one more thing I want to add is the note here in the middle of the screen. It says adjective clauses almost always go immediately after the noun that they describe. Okay? So what we want to do is make sure that we're putting our adjective clause right after the noun that it's describing. Remember when we drew the arrows? You guys remember that? In exercise 5, we drew the arrow to that noun that's right in front of the adjective clause. Okay, so that's the position of the adjective clause we need to remember. Okay, so now we're going to do a group work activity. You guys to describe what your house or your room looks like, and I want you to use adjective clauses. So here's a couple of examples. This is a structure that you can follow if you want. The living room has 2 couches that are very old. I'm describing the couches, and I'm using an adjective clause that has a SRP. Okay, another way I could say the same sentence is I could say there are 2 couches that are very old in the living room. Notice that I keep that adjective clause right next to couches. Okay. Yeah. So that's what I want you to do. You can start with like, my bedroom has, or there are, there is. Those are two different ways that you can start your sentence, but I want you to use adjective clause in each sentence. Okay, is everybody clear about what we're doing?
Think so.
Okay, so why don't I give you a couple minutes to just think about it. You can write some ideas down, or just take a moment to think, and then we will have our group time. And Fei Young, I'm glad you're here with us. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to put. Well, let's see. Do we want to write it or just speak? I think speaking would be better.
Okay.
And then if we have problems, we could go to the whiteboard. Okay, I'll give you about 2 more minutes to think about what you want to describe in your house or your room. Okay, 1 more minute.
It's okay.
And I'm going to start with my house
Okay.
and using a description just to show you as an example what we can do. Okay, let me start with my house. My daughter's room has a shelf that has lots of books on it. Ta-da! A shelf with lots of books. My daughter's room has a stuffed animal that is really big. You see this little bear? That is really big. I'm describing the animal. Ta-da! Okay, so that is describing a room in my house. Okay, who wants to go next?
I go.
Okay,
Okay.
Walter.
Okay. My living room has a sofa, very soft.
Good. That is very soft, is the adjective clause. Good.
Okay. It's me.
Yeah, go ahead. We can all take turns.
Okay.
Okay. Mine is my kitchen has one refrigerator that is very wide.
That is very white, okay. I would say my kitchen has a refrigerator that is very full and dirty. That would be for mine. But that's good. You said that is very white. Okay. Fei Young, why don't you try one?
Ma'am, in my backyard there is a greenhouse which is not set up yet.
Okay. Good. Which is not set up yet. Okay. So are you planning on um, growing vegetables in the winter or what?
And so, usually I grow some flowers and
Okay.
some vegetables. Now I have a lot of pepper,
Peppers.
um,
Okay.
different kinds of peppers. Yeah.
Okay. But it's not set up yet, so it needs some work. Okay, that's a good example. Notice that he used the word which. Okay. Can he also use the word that? My backyard has a greenhouse that is not set up yet. What do you think?
I'm
Can
not
he?
sure. I just feel I use that. I
Yes,
feel it's weird.
you can use which or that. So here's the difference between who, whose, which, and that. For people, when we're describing people, we can use who or that. And when we're describing things, we can use that or which.
Let's see.
And then the last one that I showed in the PowerPoint, whose, with the SE, that one is for possessive. We'll talk about that one later. So basically, yeah, you have a choice when you're describing the greenhouse. You can use that or which. Okay. Walter, we're back with you. Can you give us another example?
Yes. There's a window in my bedroom that is very small.
Okay. So the window that is very small. Good. Can you also say which is very small?
Yes.
Okay, good. So we can use which or we can use that. Which one of these is more common, do you think?
Which?
Okay, you think which is the most common word that we
That
use when we're I mean,
because that can use when you use people or things. Both can use that.
yeah, most people will use that for things and that for people. It's just a very common subject relative pronoun. Um, I use that a lot. I think it's the easiest because we can use it for both. We can use it for people, we can use it for things.
Yes.
So, yes, it is more common. There is one situation where you cannot use the word that in an adjective clause, but it's a very specific situation. And your book does not even talk about it because it's so unique and like specific. But I will give you an example at the bottom here. Amani, go ahead and share yours. What's your next one?
Oh yeah. My the door the door to my bedrooms has a doorknob that is broken.
Okay, the door to my bedroom has a doorknob that is broken.
Yeah,
Good. Can you also say which is broken?
which is broken. Yeah.
Yeah, that's possible too. Um, I'm writing a sentence down here at the bottom. Go ahead, Fei Young. Do you have another one?
Yes, ma'am. I have in my house. I have two cats and one dog, and which are stinky.
I remember you talking about your pets in the Go React video. You don't like cats, right?
Um, no,
Okay,
I, I
so
prefer I prefer dog, but this dog is the Australian Shepherd, and it has long fur or long hairs. So um,
Oh yeah, long hair.
every 2-3 weeks, if I don't give him a shower, he's very stinky.
Okay, yeah. Especially in the summer, I bet you, when it's hot. Yeah. Okay, so you have 2 cats and a dog, which are very stinky, or that are very stinky. Yes. Okay. Does anybody else have another sentence that you would like to share?
I was trying to. Hey, can I say a I'm using a com the a computer that is freezing or is frozen.
Yes. Either one, both are correct. That is freezing or that is frozen. Yes. I'm using a computer that is not working well. Yeah, I have 3 classes which make me busy. Good. And I'm glad you put make instead of makes. 3 classes that make me busy. Good. Well, you guys did great with today's lesson. I think we're going to stop here because it's a lot of information. Let me show you this example really quickly, just because I was talking to you about the difference between using which and that. And remember I said we like to use that because it's for people, it's for things, it's for like everything. So it's easy to use. This is one situation where you cannot use that. This is the only situation, okay? We're describing a place, right? We're describing Fort Worth. So why can't we use that in this sentence? The reason is because we have these commas.
Okay.
And like I said, your book does not go over this rule. So we're not going to be testing over this rule with commas, but basically this is called a non-identifying clause. And Fort Worth is capitalized. There's only one of them in the whole world. There's only one city. So this adjective clause that we're using has commas around it. And when we have that, we cannot use that. We have to use which or whose or who. So we would say Fort Worth, which is located west of Dallas, is famous for the stock show. We cannot say Fort Worth, that is located west of Dallas, is famous for the stock show. We've got to use which. Okay, so that's just a little extra bonus. No charge for that teaching. That was free today. So things you need to remember for our next class. You need to remember what an adjective clause is and what are the parts of the adjective clause. Like what's the structure? And then you need to remember that the adjective clause goes right after the word it's describing, and the verb in the adjective clause needs to agree with the word that is describing if it has a SRP. Okay, these are all things that I said in my PowerPoint presentation. If you guys request it, if you need it, I can post the PowerPoint in today's lesson. If that will help you, you can go back and look at the examples. Just let me know if you need that.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be great.
What did you say? You want it?
Yes, I need
That
it.
would be great.
Okay, that's free too. Yeah, no charge for that PowerPoint. Okay, I will post that in the lesson folder for you guys. So
Okay.
here's your homework. If I can get to it. There we go. The homework is textbook exercise 2 5, 6, and 7. That's good. I heard that camera clicking. 2, 5, 6, and 7. And 24. I know that's a lot, but we already did exercise 5 together in class. So that's a head start for you. 2, 5, 6, 7, and 24. Okay, and this is chapter 12, adjective clauses. Now, this is not an assignment for this week, but I want you to start thinking about it. Next week, you're going to write a half a page to practice everything that we've learned so far in this class, because I don't want you to forget what we have learned. If you remember, we talked about comparisons, we talked about nouns and the passive. So we have a little writing assignment. I put more information about it in the lesson folder, so you can take a look at that, but it will not be due until next week. Okay, so you've got 2 weeks.
Yippee.
Any questions?
No?
No questions.
May I have a question?
No questions.
Like
Yeah, okay.
last chapter, do we have a final test?
No, chapter 11, there's no test. We only had a lab assignment.
Okay, got it.
Okay, and Amani, did you do the chapter 11 lab assignment?
I forgot that one. I
Okay.
came when I came. I mean, I check it. I check it when it was late, so it was
Well,
doing.
you can still do it. It's just 10 points off for each class day that it's late.
Oh, okay. I will do it later on.
Yeah, so it's
Yes.
better than getting a 0.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
anything is better than a 0.
Yes. I will do it.
Okay, guys. Well, we're done for today. Thanks for joining me,
No, thanks to you.
Okay. Thank you.
and I will see you guys on Thursday.
See you on
Okay, bye.
Thursday.